Hello and good evening. Happy New Year 2026 and welcome to Nanaimo Design Advisory Panel, January 8th, 2026. Before we begin, just a few housekeeping items. Can I get a motion to approve today's minutes as presented? Let's see some hands. Angie going to motion. Can I get a seconder? Okay, Jessica, thank you. And all in favor? Okay, thank you, Ken, and everybody. Okay, so that's great. And then can I also get a motion to approve the minutes from the December 11th Design Advisory Panel meeting? Angie, seconder. Ken, all in favor? Yeah, okay. Great, thank you very much. Okay, so very exciting. We have two presentations to start off the year. We have 4444 and 4446 Wellington Road, a 48-unit multifamily development in a four-story building. And the second presentation is 1136, 1146, 1158, and 1166 Seafield Crescent, which is two medical office buildings at about 5,200 square meters. Morgan Pema, the planner at Current Planning, will introduce the project, followed by a presentation. Then the panel will have the opportunity to ask questions for the city, and then the panel will have comments, questions, recommendations for the presenters. So if Morgan Pema, if you could go ahead with the introduction, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to check that you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Before I do the introduction, if all members of the Design Advisory Panel could turn on their cameras so that we can see you, and if you're an applicant or presenter, if you can change your display name to your first and last name, that will help us for minute taking. So the first application, development permit number DP 1405, is for a 48-unit multifamily residential development in a four-story building located at 4444 and 4446 Wellington Road within the existing community corridor zone. The property is designated within Development Permit Area 8, Form and Character, and the city's Form and Character design guidelines apply. The application also includes variances to reduce the minimum setback for a waste management enclosure to a residential lot line from 3 meters, reducing that to 0.75 meters, as well as reducing the minimum required number of parking spaces from 80 to 78, and finally increasing the maximum permitted height of the principal building from 14 meters up to 17 meters. After the applicant does their presentation, I'm happy to answer any questions the panel may have.
Thank you, Morgan. And who will be presenting the project this evening?
I will be Jackson Lowe from Lowe Hammond Rowe Architects.
Great. Okay, go ahead, Jackson, and if you could share your screen, and after your presentation, if you could stop sharing, that would be great. Thank you.
Sure. As I figure out technology here. Okay. Let's do this one. Grab this one. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes, we can now. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to present this project to the design panel. The siting of this project is in a neighborhood that's somewhat under transition. Majority of the surrounding neighborhood is of mixed-use single-family and multifamily units, with a smattering of some light industrial facilities that have existed for a long period of time. I just got, you can see there, there's a view to Long Lake just towards the north over the Island Highway. As this property sits a little bit higher, there are views towards Long Lake as you get a little bit higher in the building. The site is sloped from Wellington down towards the north with a drop of about 6 meters plus. The proposed multifamily building is sited towards the Wellington Road side to maximize the distances away from the light industrial neighbor that's to the northeast. And that facility is a ULOC mini storage facility, so it's not a lot of activity. It's generally dormant unless somebody's going to grab something from their storage locker. Some of the comments from staff were they wanted to add some pedestrian pathways, crossings that we will be adding. One is directly to this waste management facility here. So we will be providing a sidewalk here and some marked pavement across here and a zone that for the waste management in this location. We'll also provide a crossing in this location as well as this location at the terminus of this sidewalk area. The other comment from staff were to ensure that this area be lighted. There will be lighting in both inside and outside of the facility to ensure that there's a pathway as well as a visual sort of access to the containers. There was a question about accessible entrances, and we've provided an accessible entrance on the north side of the entry. There's a sort of a two-sided entry, mainly because the majority of the parking spots are in this location, and this would provide for that access up to the main floor of the building. The other condition is because of such a high sort of steep drop from one side to the other, we have to try to find a balance of where to locate the main level so that we don't have to provide as much fill in the back to be able to bring up the levels for parking and reduce the amount of ramping to get up to that level. So it's all accessible. Another question was in terms of screening for the PMT, which is located in this location here. What we're proposing to do is move this patio area towards the west and provide some more screening in the back of this PMT. The other areas are required to be open for access for BC Hydro. The other siting comment from planning is we currently show bicycle parking in this location for short-term bicycle parking, and they are asking for it to be undercover. We're considering relocating this to an area closer to the front door in this area, and that will be undercover as well. Floor plans I'm going to move through fairly quickly. That's the parking level plan with a core, with some bicycle park, like permanent bicycle storage here, vestibule for elevator. We've got mechanical and electrical rooms on this side of the building, and the rest is the parking. Main floor, mix of 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms on this floor and studio. We have a south entrance and a north entrance to the building. We have a 3-bedroom unit, replacing a studio and a 2-bedroom on this corner, and that's we have I think 2 of those. We've also provided a fairly large amenity space on the roof with access to a rooftop patio, both open and covered areas here. This is in lieu of providing individual balconies, which would help in terms of our achieving our energy requirements. With balconies, there's a lot of code bridging and so on. So it decided early on that it'd be more beneficial to provide a larger sort of common amenity space that's shared, as well as a shared outdoor patio. This patio also provide all the residents the ability to enjoy the outdoors, as well as have that view to Long Lake to the north, which is in this direction here. Sorry. So as far as the massing is concerned, the building is broken up into sort of two linear masses, one to the west and one to the east. At the junction is basically the entrance to the building, so that sort of splits it. There's a two-story canopy over top of the entry, as well as a two-story space as you enter into the building. You could see that there is a rooftop amenity space is centered on the building, and sort of adds to that massing. The other situation where we're breaking up the massing is using sort of an eyebrow border around the second floor to sort of accentuate the second and third floor and make it pop out, giving some sort of relief in the massing, as well as the use of materials to create that sort of interest and massing difference. We've also added a third color and material, which gives accents to around the building. Some of the comments from planning as well. We mentioned the rooftop patio that provides the view towards Long Lake. Common area up on that level instead of providing balconies throughout the facility. The other question was whether or not we can provide the potential for solar collection panels, and so we can provide a sort of a conduit from rooftop to the electric room and provide sort of accommodation space for future equipment within the electrical room as well. And I think that concludes the architectural portion of the presentation. I will turn the presentation over to Kate Steffia from Kinship to provide an overview of the landscape design.
Okay. Thank you, Jackson. I can share my screen if that makes sense.
Yep, there you go.
Oh, that's not it. Oh, there we go. Are we good? Okay. Well, thank you, design panel, for your time and attention today. I'm happy to present the landscape plan for this project. So the landscape has really three main design components or elements. We have the streetscape and planting, which here along the streetscape. We have the rain garden amenity space at the back in this zone, and the rooftop amenity space up on the rooftop, of course. The streetscape has medium flowering deciduous trees and formal rows of ornamental, indigenous, and evergreen and deciduous ground covers, perennial flowers, grasses, and shrubs. And they line the sidewalk. The shrubs are used to create formal hedge with rows of softer, wilder perennial flowers in front. And of course, the intent is to create sort of a layer of vegetative screening for the ground floor units from that street. So that would be in this zone. And I'm sure in your package you saw in L2 onward, you have a more detailed look at the plants that we are proposing for that area. Then area 2, the rain gardens amenity space at the back. So it's a series of 1, 2, and 3 rain gardens included to support the on-site stormwater management. Benches, logs, and boulders are integrated with the rain garden, creating an amenity space immersed in a rich biodiversity of plants and trees. The logs and boulders over in this area sort of have been included to create a secondary path of movement through the space, providing opportunities for open-ended play and inquiry and interaction with the landscape. And there's a really strong base plant material, native plant material base to this planting plan. And we've made sure to incorporate a lot of plants that support our diverse pollinators that we hope to attract to site. Then, lastly, our final sort of amenity space is the rooftop. And the rooftop includes benches, tables, and plantings. The benches and tables are sort of oriented to take advantage of the views. So we have views going towards Long Lake and then also back towards Mount Benson, where we'll see hopefully really beautiful sunsets. And the plantings have incorporated a lot of native plants you might find in our sort of Gary Oak rocky outcrop kind of conditions. So I think will be suitable for this context. And in our design package, you would have seen just a quick overview of the proposal of furnishings. So to plan to have sort of benches, a little bit integrated benches into the rain garden amenity space and up on the roof, and to fence the perimeter of the property, the sides, with a black metal picket fence. Yeah, and then that is an overview of our lighting. So we have low bollard lighting to highlight the main pedestrian pathways, and stair lighting, and then in the parking lot, pole-mounted lighting. And then, of course, there's the planting plan that gives you a greater detail of what we've included. I think I'll just stop there, and I'm happy to answer any questions or give greater clarity to the design. And thank you very much. And there we go.
Thank you, Kate, and thank you, Jackson, for the thorough presentation. Lovely. Okay, is the presentation complete? Is there anything else? Okay, great. So let's start with questions from the panel members for the city. If anybody has a question, let me just take a look. It's on two screens for me, so I'm just flicking back and forth. So if anyone does have a question, please put your hand up now. Okay, I don't see anybody. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll begin with the comments and questions and recommendations from the panel. So let's start with Jessica today, if you don't mind.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for the presentation. I really like the entirety of this development proposal. This is in my neighborhood. I know this area very, very well, and it would be interesting to see a residential building go in that location. And I like all aspects of it, and I don't really have any feedback because you've already addressed all of the staff concerns. My initial concern was going to be pedestrian walkways, which you've addressed, and I think that lighting and access to the garbage area was also addressed. So really, I think this is a great development. I like the massing. I like the color scheme. I think it's very appropriate for the light commercial, industrial, residential, mixed neighborhood that's there. I really don't have any feedback. I think it's great. Thank you very much. I wish I had more, but as you addressed in your presentation, you took all staff comments into consideration and seem to have addressed all of them. And if that happens in the final plan, then it's fantastic. It's addressed any concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. That's great. Okay, Angie, did you have?
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, no, great presentation. Yeah, I don't have much to say either. Just a couple small items. I really love the rooftop terrace. I think that, yeah, will be a really special feature for this development. So looking forward to seeing that. It kind of ties into one of the staff comments, and you had mentioned about accessibility on I guess it's the west side of the building there, the street side. I do think having a way to, it's a smaller change in elevation on that side, and I do think having a ramp or some type of accessibility to that front entrance of the building would be a big benefit here, particularly for bikes to get in and out. And I know you mentioned maybe putting the short-term bike storage kind of undercover, closer to the building, and in that case, having that accessibility would help those bikes get in and out of that area as well. But I think just for anybody using active modes of transportation, it's really tricky to kind of go out the backside and then come up around without kind of a marked pathway. So if there is a way to kind of relook at that and see if there's an opportunity to put in an accessible pathway either from the front door or the side door, I think that would really be a big benefit. And then the only other comment I had is if there's an area where there could be like a bike maintenance workbench or an area for bikes to just get tuned up, I think that would also be a big benefit here, being close to the ENN trail and hopefully lots of bike users. So that's everything from me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Angie. Those are great comments. Kate, please.
Great. Yeah, I would second Angie's comment about the need for universal access from the front door to Wellington. I also love the amenity roof area. I do wonder about the programming. It seems like maybe a bit of a missed opportunity not to add urban agriculture beds, or especially because no one has their own patios, consider shared barbecue amenities, something like that. I did note the drive aisle and the parking stalls is quite wide at 8 meters. So wondering if that could be, which I think is wider than the bylaw. So potentially room there to tighten it up and add more greenery or walkways. I did wonder where for the rain gardens, what is the water coming off the roof? Is it clean water or is it the water? Yeah. So that was a question. Is the water being diverted from the roof to the rain gardens, or what's the...
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Great. And then, I mean, the thing I always advocate for, it's a lot of asphalt. If there's any possibility of adding permeable pavers in some of the stalls even, I would recommend that. And the rest is great.
Thank you, Kate, for the very thorough review. That's great. And Ken, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Like the previous speakers, given the nature of the adjacent land uses, I was quite pleased to see the extent of the landscaping along all the edges of the property. That it's an area in transition, but I think that bit of landscaping between the adjacent commercial industrial uses is a good idea. I'm really happy to see the landscaping. The rain gardens is particularly intriguing. I've not encountered those previously, and so I'm from a professional viewpoint, I'm curious as to how well they're going to work. So I'll be watching. I was glad to see that. Some of the considerations that I'm suggesting are to perhaps create a passenger loading zone at the front of the building with an accessible pathway to the front door. I noticed that there's a number of accessible units in there, and I think that sometimes the the access from the street curb to the front door is can be a little bit problematic for folks that have accessing problems. Secondly, I thought it might be helpful to have some sun screening elements on the west side of the building. This would be to help mitigate the impact of late afternoon, early evening sun, particularly in the winter months. Recognizing that the traffic along Wellington Avenue is of an industrial nature, both in terms of quantity and type, I thought that perhaps some additional screening along the Wellington Road side might be of benefit, but making sure that there are adequate and appropriate sight lines where vehicles exit from the development onto Wellington. I like the idea of the amenity areas. I did note that perhaps some tables may be in the amenity area on the ground floor. Folks might like to just sit out there, take advantage of the landscaping, sit in those rain garden areas. But if they are provided, then perhaps just make sure that they're also screened a little bit from the surface parking area. And then the last thing was something very, very small. I've noticed in other developments, there's usually a lack of signage indicating where the heck you park your bikes. And so I'm suggesting that perhaps some signage indicating at least the short-term bike parking. And that's pretty much the extent of the comments I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Ken. That was great. Dushan, please. I think Dushan is not present at the moment, so we'll continue with Councillor Eastmere, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation. It is a really nice looking building, so appreciate that. And of course, excellent landscape plan. I support those minor variances. I like that there's adaptable units. I do wonder about like making one or two of them accessible from the get-go, just because I know it's quite expensive to adapt a unit, but that may not be feasible. And definitely understand how the rooftop amenity serves the energy efficiency needs, and I think that will be a really well-used space. But I do like the idea about the amenities on the roof, like the shared barbecue. I think that probably gets figured out down the line, though. And I did like the comment from our panel member, Angie, about the accessible side door. I think that that would be a good recommendation, and the comment on the permeable pavers. But yeah, other than that, really appreciate this coming forward, and thank you to the panel for your comments today.
Thank you, Councillor Eastmere. Okay, so just if Dushan is still not present, I'm just checking if he's popped in or not. Okay, so that just leaves me, I don't have much to add. I think the presentation was extremely thorough. I appreciate the way the building was, the massing was split into two and into kind of three parts up the face of the building. It makes the entry to the building very, very clear, especially with the canopy. So I appreciate that, along with the amenity space. I think the weather protection that you provided at the amenities, so in the form of the building, was great. I guess the only comment, and I'm not going to formalize it because I will not add it to the list, but I think maybe some like a shading screen would be interesting on the amenity area, just to provide two different methods of protection, even if it's super hot up there one day, then it's still nice to be able to sit in the shade. But I'm not going to formalize it. So that leaves us with 12 recommendations total from the panel members, and I will list them now. Number one was from Jessica, a ramp for the front entrance, and that was then echoed by Ken with passenger loading zone. So that could be one recommendation together as part of that. Number two, a bike maintenance workbench due to the proximity of the ENN trail. I've seen they have these posts that you can have that have tools that are chained onto them. That could be something that's, if you don't want to use up a lot of space, that could be a portable solution. Or not portable solution, but a compact solution. Number three, consider urban agricultural beds on the amenity space above, on the rooftop. Number four, consider barbecues and tables on the upstairs rooftop. Number five, consider reducing the drive aisle to the minimum requirement in order to provide more greenery and landscaping. Number six, consider permeable pavers. Number seven, consider screening the west side of the building for glare. And then if panel members, if you could help me out on this one, I think this was Ken's comment here to provide screening off of Wellington Road. And you meant screening from cars, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. So number eight is provide screening from cars along Wellington Road. Okay, number nine, provide tables and screening from parking in the rain garden. So maybe picnic tables, something like that. Number 10, consider providing signage for the bike parking. Number 11, consider making one unit accessible. And number 12, consider putting in an accessible side door. And maybe Angie can expand on that if you'd like to clarify a little bit.
I think that's just whichever one kind of works out better with the grades, whether it's the side door or the entrance.
Yeah, so that can actually be combined then with number 1, right? So
Yeah.
for front entrance with the passenger loading zone or an accessible side door. So that changes it to 11 recommendations. Does that sound fair? Okay, great. Okay, so we have 11 recommendations. Just to the panel members, I'm just going to see, did I miss anything from anyone? Does anyone have anything to add? Okay, no, thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to put forward a motion to accept the project as presented with the 2 variances. Now, we haven't really talked much about those. Just to recap, the variances were parking spaces, reducing them from the required 81 to 77. And the second one was reducing the building height from, increasing the building height from 14 to 17. Is there, nobody has mentioned that they have any issues with this so far. So I propose to accept this project as presented with those 2 variances and the 11 recommendations. So if we could get a motion, can anyone put their hand up? Okay, let me see. Angie, I see you. Okay, great, thank you. And seconder? Jessica and Kate, thank you. And all in favor? Angie, Ken, thank you, everybody. And thank you very much again, Jackson and Kinship, for the presentation and the wonderful project. I'm very excited to see that come to fruition.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, great. So the next project this evening is 1136, 1146, 1158, and 1166 Seafield Crescent, the two medical office buildings. So Morgan Pimont, could you please introduce this project? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So this development permit is number DP 1406. It is for two 5-story medical office buildings located at 1136, 1146, 1158, 1166 Seafield Crescent, as well as 1135 Dufferin Crescent. And this is within the existing hospital urban center zone. The property is designated within Development Permit Area 8 for form and character, and therefore the city's form and character design guidelines apply. The application does include several variances to the proposed Keystone Medical Center, which is proposed on 1135 Dufferin Crescent and 1136 Seafield Crescent on that property that will be consolidated. They're proposing to reduce the minimum required landscape buffer width along the east property line from 3 meters to 2.3 meters, as well as to reduce the required number of parking spaces from 69 to 63, reducing the required number of loading spaces from 1 to 0, reducing the minimum required front yard setback from 4.5 meters to 2.67 meters, and reducing the minimum required side yard setbacks, one from 3 meters to 2.3 meters and the other to 0.227 meters. For the Parkview Medical Center that's proposed on 1146, 1158, and 1166 Seafield Crescent, those are proposed to be consolidated. They're requesting variances to reduce the required number of parking spaces from 105 to 75, as well as to reduce the minimum required number of parking spaces from 2 to 0, and reducing the minimum required front yard setback from 4.5 meters to 3 meters. I'd be happy to answer any questions following the applicant's presentation.
Thank you very much, Morgan Pimont. And who will be presenting this evening? Okay. Okay, just hold on a moment while we set up here.
And I'm sorry, my iPad does feedback on the sound.
Oh,
So
if
see
you
how it goes.
turn off your sound entirely,
it off.
entirely, then you can use the speaker here, which is what I've been doing.
So try that. It's like you have to join the Zoom meeting, but not the audio part of it.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I'm not certain how to do that. So do I have to rejoin or?
We can probably mute you.
Great.
Yeah. Are you? You're Donna Hayes? No, you cannot mute you. The rest of the us can.
Madam Chair, we can see the screen being shared right now. And I believe we can hear voices in the room.
Great. So I think we can go ahead.
Okay, wonderful. My name is Donna Hayes, and I am the owner of the property. Can I?
You can just leave potentially and join this way.
Okay, I'll
That's
join that
probably
way.
best.
There we go. Thanks very much. So my name is Donna Hayes. I am the owner of Canadian Cash Development Corporation, who owns all 5 properties. I am also the project manager through our construction division, which is RW Bob Wall Limited. And I am joined this evening by our architect, Igor Nardin, who is online and who is sharing his screen. And I am joined by our landscape architect, Nigel Gray, who I believe, is also digitally online with us, although I don't see his picture there. I just want to give a little bit of perspective before I ask Igor to speak to the two buildings in question and talk about the significance of the hospital campus. So these are the next two proposed buildings for the hospital campus. We already own 6 other medical facilities on the campus, including the neighboring property at 1125 Dufferin Crescent, known as Harbor City Health Center, the medical facility on Seafield behind our projects called Seafield Medical Center. We also own the Hospital Commons property at the corner of Boundary and Dufferin, along with Millstone Medical Center at that same corner across the street. And directly next to our Hospital Commons property is our latest addition to the hospital campus, which is Colville Medical Center. The reason that I'm mentioning those facilities is because what we have actively been working on is a comprehensive hospital campus, wherein one building in and of itself cannot be looked at in isolation. It is truly a campus which looks at, and the purpose of, is facilitating and allowing NRGH, our regional district tertiary hospital, to have the supporting services and amenities in and around it that are not required on the hospital campus site itself. One of the things we truly found during COVID, and I think the public became painfully aware of this when you were starting to be denied access to the hospital for services that did not require acute care, is that services that are not acute should not be within the hospital, but need to be on the campus itself and surrounding infrastructure facilities. And that's what, quite frankly, our first building was built in the late 1990s. What we've been working on for the last nearly 30 years is building that infrastructure and creating that campus of care that is necessary to support the hospital. Before Igor takes over on the presentation, one thing I want to note is we have asked for what I believe is a significant variance on parking. But the reason I mentioned to you previously about the buildings that we own is when we built Colville Medical Center, which was our last build and opened about 3.5 years ago, completely occupied, we have a 5-story parkade behind that building. And we intentionally overbuilt that parkade. There's more than 100 parking spaces in addition over what we needed for Colville that are for servicing the campus. So for instance, we anticipate that our employees that work within our buildings, particularly as at least the first building, Keystone, will actually house a daycare surgical facility on the top floor. Our staff will not actually be parking on this site. They will be parking at our sister site at Colville Medical Center. That was a large investment by our firm up front to make sure that the campus had the necessary parking that was required. And we are not looking to the hospital. I know that right now they are building a parkade, right? I can look out my window of my office every day. We do not look to the hospital to be providing those parking spaces for our patients or our staff. The campus, the facilities outside that we own is that we are providing the parking spaces. That's why Colville built those extra 100 spaces right up front. The other piece that I just want to mention, and I'm sure Igor will speak to this, is the campus has to be intentional with its buildings. Nobody comes to the campus because they're excited to be there. People who come to see us are all patients. Many of our people are nervous to see us. Many are elderly to see us. We have the oldest population in Canada that lives in central Vancouver Island. We are a tertiary level hospital directly across the street from us. So our buildings must be very purpose-built with the understanding that most patients don't come by themselves. And so part of the campus intent is to provide opportunities for those that come with a patient to not necessarily have to wait in the doctor's office. As many of our doctors are specialists, some of those appointments are over an hour long. But our outdoor amenities, like you'll notice, any of our outdoor landscaping, we put them in raised planter beds intentionally because they're outdoor seating opportunities. Not a day goes by that I don't see people sitting on our outdoor planters at the Colville Medical Center taking opportunities, waiting for a patient who's in a doctor's appointment. The other side of that is we're very, very conscientious of the people who work in our facilities. So our staffing, many of the surgeons or staff that you see working in the hospital have their offices with us, which means they're not working a 9-to-5 job. It is not uncommon for me to get calls from security at 2 a.m. in the morning because I have doctors who are on call responding to trauma in our hospital that are inside of our facilities. Many of our staff work 12-hour shifts, and so we like to provide a lot of outdoor amenities to those staff people. We're very conscientious. Matter of fact, at Colville Medical Center, if you went to the top floor of our parkade, which is secured parking, you'll find that we have picnic tables outside because we encourage our staff to get outside for lunch. So in both of the buildings that we proposed, we have outdoor top floor amenity space. Those are for the people working inside of our buildings. We've also created quite an outdoor space between the buildings, intentionally understanding that we want that the outdoor space is equally vital to us as our inside space. And so that's why you'll see some of the landscape features that we've been proposing in sort of more open spaces with more seating. We're also conscientious that ambulances attend our buildings every single day. It is not uncommon for a patient to come into our facilities and have to be taken to the hospital directly across the street in an ambulance because that's actually the only way you can transport them. And so some of our open areas in front of our buildings we understand that that we're going to be seeing ambulances pull up there. And I will speak to any other questions maybe that come up through the program that are specific to somehow we've done some of our design. And some of it is learning. For instance, at 3 of those medical buildings I mentioned, we have outdoor garbage facilities. Colville, we put inside. It was the best thing we ever did was get the garbage out of our yards and put them inside a locked space. The hospital campus has a fairly significant homeless population that lives on the campus. And so locking our garbage away is one way that we've dealt with it as opposed to our buildings that have to have garbage enclosures as an example. But I'm going to ask Igor to take over this part of the presentation.
Thank you very much. That was a great introduction.
Hello, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Thank you. Again, Igor Nardin with OCA Architecture and an architect with the AIBC. I rather than repeating a lot of the things that Donna has said, I'll probably just touch on a few things. This whole block, for the most part, I think we can agree is in the middle of totally being, in many ways, redeveloped. So apart from the medical building, which is basically just to the east here, which is probably the most recent, a lot of these residential dwellings, existing residential dwellings and so on, a portion of them are currently being used as commercial, actually, and not residential. So in terms contextually speaking, it's really just the building next door that is probably closest to us. So what we've proposed is, for the first building, we proposed what's actually a 6-story building because there's pretty well a 1-floor drop between Dufferin Street and Seafield. And the reason why we set it up this way was because we wanted a presence of that lot along Dufferin, but what ends up happening is we can park on the ground floor of the Dufferin Street height. Once we come around to the Seafield site, we're actually have a whole parking garage underneath, but this is pretty well out of the ground on the Southfield side. So in many ways, it's actually a 6-story building, which leaves 4 stories of office units on this level, or in this particular building. As we move to the second building, what we have is basically an underground parking garage plus 5 stories of office suites. And I should mention that the site continues to slope to the west. Access to the underground parking garage actually happens at the lowest level. There are no ramps or underground for the underground parking garage here because it's basically level with Seafield. So that gives you an idea of the planning per se. And as Donna mentioned, we tried to create as much of a common gathering space in the middle of the two buildings, as well as on the front facing Dufferin, which all our landscape architect will speak to, and as well as having quite a bit of landscaping and access from from Seafield here. Both buildings have covered arcades around the whole building, so that the building sits up on stilts many ways. This just blow-ups of the same building, but I probably should get to, this gives you an idea of, from Dufferin Street, we basically drive right in. We have handicap access or barrier-free access essentially right to the building. And from the Seafield as well, it would have underground parking, which is partially underground, and this is level with Seafield. From there, we actually I probably should explain this before I go too far. To access the parking that we have in the back of the building, we actually go through this parking garage and through. And part of the reason for doing this is obviously to provide as much parking and landscaping within this scenario, but also what it does, it allows us to secure the property at night. As Donna mentioned, Colville, she's experienced a lot of issues with it. So what we try to do is lock down the building at night. Okay. With respect to, I should mention, I guess, let me get to this. So this gives you an idea of just the elevations. What we have is, this is the Dufferin. This is the Keystone building, the Dufferin. And as you can see, this is Seafield and it slopes down. So this is the bottom underground parking portion. And then we have another parking area right above that. And then the building itself. We've tried to break down the scale of the building so it appears to be like a series of volumes as opposed to one massive block. We don't have a lot of room to work with in terms of width with this site. So the variants that were mentioned were based on the width of an economical parking garage based on the City of Nanaimo parking standards. So that's what causes the variance, right? And in keeping what we did for the economy of building and so on, we kept the upper floors in line with that. So that's what the variances are that's what causes the variances for this particular building. When we get to the next building, it's very similar in the sense that in terms of the variances, the setback actually to the actual property line is 4.5 meters, but there's road dedications associated with it, which brings it down to 3 meters or so. So the dedication is what throws us off, so to speak. But again, a lot of this is based on the City of Nanaimo parking standards in terms of widths, aisle widths, parking widths, and so on. So we're dealing, even though it's quite a few number of lots, we are dealing with restrictions in terms of widths and what we can do. The what we tried to do is make the buildings as different as possible in the sense that the main view of the Keystone building will actually be the end of the building, the actual smaller portion. When we get to the Parkview building, the biggest view is actually along the long side of the building. Again, they're very simple rectangular buildings. We're trying to be as economical as possible. A lot of glazing. We're using wood panels. We're trying to differentiate each building by adding different colors to it, but keeping the base of the masonry and siding look very similar. This gives you an idea of how the building basically cascades down with the grades. So we're trying to use the grades as much. We're providing roof decks off the upper floors on both buildings. They both face south, so they should get quite a bit of use. Plus, we also have, and they're common in the sense that everybody can use those. Plus, we have the ground floor courtyard area, which also provides seating and built-in seating and so on. So I think that covered most of the minor little things that I guess the reasons for the variances and the actual size of the building. I'm sure you have all the figures, so I don't think I have to really jump on that very much. And like I said, the articulation for the most part comes with basically recessing all the ground floors to make the building feel not as high, so to speak, but then actually breaking up the volumes vertically, so that there is quite a bit of play and color. I think that's all I have for you at this point. And I'd like to pass it on to our, I know we only have 15 minutes, so I'd like to pass it on to our landscape architect.
Thanks, Igor. Donna and Igor did a great job of an overview. Maybe if I can share my screen, if that'll work.
Sure.
1 second.
It's okay, sorry, but oops. I just lost it.
Oops.
I can't get it back. What's going on here? Just a sec. Sorry, everyone. I've got to make this bigger.
Yeah, I don't think this counts against our time, right, City?
Sorry, I'm trying to. There it is. You are sharing. Stop share. There you go. Sorry about that.
Great. Okay, can everybody see that? Great.
Yep.
So Donna and Igor did a great overview of kind of most of the elements, so I won't belabor the point, and I'll try to be quick, so we're within our 15 minutes. I'm Nigel Gray. I'm a registered professional planner and landscape architect with MacDonald Gray Consultants in the beautiful neighborhood of San Periel. So I'm just going to give you a quick design overview. As I said, a lot of the elements have been mentioned before, so here we go. There is a consistency with what has already been done. Great designs by, I'm assuming, Igor and Victoria Drakeford, now retired, excellent landscape architect. So happy to jump into her shoes where we can. You can see there is an existing typology on the street, and we're just going to try and continue that same effect. So as alluded to, seating areas are provided for short-term use for people waiting outside the buildings along Dufferin and Seafield Crescent. And you can see those are lush plantings following what's been done before and adding to that kind of campus feeling that people like me spend way too much time in this area, and I really do appreciate the way it's been done to date. As noted also, we have a private secure courtyard, and this is provided between the buildings, and it's got views into the space from the buildings. So we've coordinated this together and tried to expand that space as much as we can to allow a little bit of a serene area. This area will be secure. The entire site can be secured at night, and I've walked around quite a bit here, and there's a reason for that. So that private courtyard is, to wax a little poetic, it's based on the Star of Life, which is it's meant to inspire medical staff. They have tough jobs. It's meant to be a serene space where you can kind of sit and reflect. There are seating benches provided and a very fulsome landscape. These are raised planters in this area. So it would be quite a nice area to sit. You can sit together or alone as you see fit. This is a medical building after all, so there can be uncomfortable moments there at times. The notion of philosopher's garden is kind of a landscape architectural word, but yeah, that's the idea. Nice informal conversations and quiet reflection is what we're trying to do for that space. In terms of city comments, there was a comment about limiting the use of chain link fencing. The chain link fencing is based on a design precedent. This is a design by Victoria Drakeford, but as you can see, if we are going to use chain link fencing, it would be black and basically transparent most of the time. The planting in behind is quite lush. Igor, I don't think you mentioned it, but we do have green screens along the parkade facade, stepped, so that would be quite green and lush all the way up the parkade. You're not looking at a blank concrete wall behind a chain link fence. There's quite a bit of staggered planting, so ground level trees and also the green screen on the building. So quite a green and verdant approach to the landscaping there. So in terms of where that is, we have, as alluded to, adjacent to an existing medical site. So it's really not something to be seen by the general public. It's just to kind of define the property line. There was an adjacency here, which I expect to transition land use into a commercial medical center at some point in the near future. So that chain link fencing is predominantly along the east property line, where we expect future development to occur. There are gates at the frontage. This one is screened by planting on Seafield. There's 2 at the front here and 1 on the edge here, just to provide that secure perimeter at night. We haven't had a chance to discuss options moving forward to address the staff comments, as we just got this on Tuesday. But we'll have a chance to talk to Donna about that after this meeting. The other comment was about the pad mounted transformer. Yeah, we always want to screen these when we can. I just want to recognize right now we're at development permit. So as we all love hydro, this is very likely to move around on us at some point. So we'll take a hard look at that once we get a final location from hydro for that pad mounted transformer. I did want to say, I did take a look down at the building at 1125 Dufferin, and it looks like we were allowed to extend the paving up to the transformer, so I will reflect that on our plans moving forward. Was that quick enough? And that's all I have for now. Thanks.
That was very efficient. Thank you. Thank you again, Donna, for the spirited introduction, and Igor and Nigel, and fighting the good fight to give us good healthcare here in Nanaimo, which is wonderful. I'm going to open up questions for the panel for the city, for Morgan Paiement. I'm just going to flick through these screens here and see if anybody has... Put your hand up and keep your hand up if you have a question for Morgan. Okay, I don't see any hands. Oh, Angie, there she is. Okay, go ahead, Angie, please.
Sorry, Chair, I added it late. I guess my only question for staff is just if any of the adjacent residential properties currently have any rezoning applications underway.
Thanks, Angie. No, at the moment, I don't believe any of the surrounding ones have any rezoning. There are some in that block that have already rezoned to the CC5, which these properties are wanting to rezone to. Oh, sorry. But yeah, no current rezoning applications for the remaining residential properties.
Could I maybe just comment on what the use of our neighbors' properties are? So everyone along Dufferin is CC5, even though they're houses, they are medical clinics. And next to us behind Harbor City Health Center, even though it is a house, it is owned by Island Health and is used for different purposes. And even though on the other side of us, even though there is a residence there, it's owned by the gentleman in front, and it's used for his parking for his commercial building. And then the house on the corner is owned by Island Health, and it's their IT office. So even though they appear as houses in our block, other than the nurse on the one corner who has a little carriage house, all the rest are either used by Island Health for other purposes or offices already.
Great. Okay. Hillary, please, question.
I just had a question just briefly about the loading spaces. I think I heard that addressed during the presentation, but it's because of the campus thing, so you have loading spaces in other areas?
Correct. And there is a loading space directly in front of the Keystone building already that exists in between Harbor City. So between our properties, there's already loading zones on the street in that area.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions for the city? Okay, wonderful. Okay, so we will proceed with questions, comments, and recommendations from the panel, and we will begin with Councillor Eastmere this time. Thank you.
Thank you. So yes, happy to see this come forward, and obviously a really good addition to this concept of a hospital campus. So for that reason, I support the variances. I think that the design seems very intentional from my perspective as far as the colors and the massing. I like the roof decks, and of course the garden area is a really nice touch. I don't have an issue with the black chain link fence. I think, you know, it does disappear when it's black and you have plantings behind it. So at this point, I don't have any other comments, but keen to hear what the rest of the panel has to say, and really appreciate the applicant for bringing this forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Eastmere. Ken, please go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. When I was considering this application, I went down and took a little tour through the area. I noted a couple of things, particularly in the Seafield Crescent area. The first thing I noticed is that even though the surrounding area on that street is essentially in transition from a single-family residential area, I still got a sense of a residential flavor, pretty much by virtue of the architecture of not only the existing houses, but a couple of the existing buildings as well. And the second thing I noted there was the extent of the on-street parking. Even now, even before these two buildings are built, the street is packed on both sides. And so that's led me to a couple of suggestions for consideration. The first one, and this is particularly with respect to the Seafield Crescent views, is to consider altering the roof line of the buildings by introducing some sort of peaked roof elements that would more closely reflect that residential flavor and that sense of the area. And the second thing, I was glad to hear about the overbuilding of the existing parkade. In other words, considering providing off-site parking. But even with that, given the extent of the present situation, not only of the on-street parking, but also traffic movement in the area, which I'm sure pretty much all of us have probably had to deal with at one time or another, a couple of suggested considerations. First of all, adding a passenger loading zone with accessible pathways to the front doors of both buildings. And the second one is to keep the parking reductions as minimal as possible. And my suggestion is perhaps no more than about 10%. And those, Madam Chair, are the only suggestions that I have for this development.
Thank you, Ken. So just to confirm, your comments are to add more parking with consideration on top of the other facility. Sorry, was it Colville Medical Center, which is nearby, which has. So you're thinking to add to this one because you think it's too far away, or?
Well, kind of. I hadn't considered the location because I didn't know about it until the presentation. I was glad to hear, though, that there was that excess capacity. And then I realized that even with that excess capacity, the parking along Seafield Crescent is still bumper to bumper pretty much the whole day. And so my suggestion is that in lieu of reducing the parking requirements for this development, somewhere in the order of 20%, that be that the reduction, if necessary, could go ahead, but that it be minimalized and perhaps kept to a maximum of only 10% rather than the 20% requested.
Okay, thank you. Kate, please.
Great. Thank you for the presentation. Yeah, just a couple comments. One being, I appreciate the design typology, Nigel, that you brought up of the area with the benches. I would reference that both your plan as well as the design typology are concrete unit pavers, and your plan is showing concrete unit pavers, but then it's labeled as broom finished concrete everywhere. And I would suggest that from a human scale, that just isn't great. It's going to be a lot of concrete on broom finished concrete as well as concrete benches. So I would suggest that is reconsidered to unit pavers.
Yeah, you guys have an old plan.
Yeah.
It's all going to be pavers. All unit paving with a brick. Yeah.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Yeah. Because okay. Well, there we go. I don't have to have that one then. The other one would be just to the benches, I appreciate the design typology. I'd suggest, just because it is a medical facility, looking at least hand rests, if not back rests for accessibility. As we, so that would be my suggestion there. I think there are a couple areas where you could expand the planter size. I know you referenced this layered green facade and using those planter benches, but I think there are a few areas where you could expand to actually accommodate the soil volume of the trees. There's a few that just look way too small to accommodate the trees that are being suggested in them.
I think she's frozen.
Kate, are you still there? Let's give Kate just 5 seconds, and maybe she'll pop back in. Hold on. There you are. Welcome back.
Sorry. I don't know what happened. Got the spinning wheel on my end. Apologies. I don't know where I cut off. Planters, recommend them larger. And then besides that, I don't think there was anything else. I think it was that was it. Looks great, and good to see that there's more medical facilities happening.
Thank you very much, Kate.
Yeah.
Okay. Jessica, please.
Hello. Thank you for adding more medical facilities to our city that really needs them. Great presentation, and clearly the experience with other existing buildings in Nanaimo is productive with this development and making decisions that are practical and work. My comments have already been addressed. Kate just referred to the concrete, and on our plans there was a whole lot of broom finished concrete, and if that has been updated to pavers, then that addresses the permeable paver recommendation that I had, as well as in the staff comments there was a recommendation about glazing. Medical buildings have a lot of glazing, and so I think that if it's possible, it's important to non-mirrored, bird-friendly, those practical aspects of glazing in new buildings in an area where it's currently surrounded by shorter buildings. So the vertical element of that building, those buildings will be very new in that environment. So I think that dealing with bird-friendly glazing and even solar heat gain strategies to minimize that if possible. And otherwise, there's very thoughtful consideration to all aspects of this building. I think it's a great addition. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jessica. Great. And Angie, please.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I think this is a really interesting building, so lots to look at. I really like how the building articulation has been kept really minimal, but then the window shading has been used to kind of create some interest on the building, and not just have this one big block, which is great, and that'll also help with the solar heat gain as well. I was curious, are any of the mature trees that are currently on the site being retained, or will all those be okay? All of those are gone. Yeah, there are some really beautiful trees. If there was an opportunity to preserve any of them, I think it would add a lot of value. But I understand that.
Sorry, and maybe I'll just comment. I too love trees. That's why you see lots of trees in our development. Those trees are we have major branches that have been falling off every year. We get complaints from our neighbors every single year. So they're not necessarily as stable as you might think. And you'll see if you actually drive by 1135 Dufferin, we've actually left some of the big chunks that have fallen down on the site. So we will replace with an equivalent amount of landscaping, but that's a little bit more scalable.
Right. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. I know they are quite large, so branches falling would be challenging for sure.
So Angie, we're going to scrap that comment then, or would you like to keep it?
Yeah, no, it doesn't need to be a formal recommendation. Just
okay, great. Just a thought. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then yeah, I also similar to I think Ken's comment about just accessibility to the entrances. I was just a little bit confused as to how if somebody was needing, an ambulance transport, how that could be facilitated through each of the buildings. So, is there an accessible route to get from each of the buildings to an ambulance, like an area where an ambulance could park?
Yes.
I
So,
can-
sorry, did you want me to speak to that, Igor, or should I?
You can speak. Go ahead.
Okay, just because I'm there every day. So the paving stones. I'm sorry that didn't reflect on your plans, but in the areas in front of Keystone Medical Center, behind the planter area, you'll see there's flat area and that's what happens now at Colville. Is the ambulance pulls up behind our landscaping bay right to our front door, and the same will actually happen at Parkview. So we do have a plan to accommodate them, and that's where you see the back of sidewalk. We have paving stone areas. The ambulance pulls up onto those areas. Those paving stones are all drivable so that people can drive on them. I might add that, and this may not matter to this council, but each of our buildings there has 2 elevators. Both are stretcher size for ambulance. The other thing that's really important to note, particularly in Keystone, there is a surgical facility on the top floor, and therefore our elevators are larger to accommodate a surgical bed, which is larger than a stretcher for an ambulance. And then because our buildings are all medical in nature, everything is also automated to make it easy for our ambulances to take patients out.
Thank you, that helps a lot. So in the plan, when we were seeing the driveway and it was all one uniform color, except for the area where there was pavers, that's the loading area where the ambulance is. Okay, so that's, okay, Angie, please continue, go ahead.
Sounds good. Yeah, maybe I'll just add to that as well. So it's behind the landscaped area that the ambulance is able to pull up to?
Igor, could Igor share a screen and show you? Would that be helpful?
Yes, please, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great, thank you.
Or Nigel, actually Nigel, your drawing had it maybe a little bit better with the...
I can speak to it actually, if you'd like. With respect to the Keystone building, you can basically drive in right underneath the building, right? That's
Okay.
where the parking is. So you basically can go literally right to where the elevators are. In other words, right at Dufferin, the ambulance can literally drive right in. There's handicap parking spaces right there, and so on. So there shouldn't be any problem with accessing that. When you get to the Seafield area, again, as Donna mentioned, that whole area is all paved, so the ambulance can literally park there. The other thing that we provided on the street, which isn't on this, the commercial lay-by kind of that we're proposing, that's part of this whole recessed area that you see where the Seafield Crescent lettering is there. That is actually going to be a lay-by for commercial vehicles and so on, which also can be used for drop-off. The other, with respect to the Seafield building, the back of the building also gives you access from where the parking is, right to the back door. So in terms of dropping people off, there's various avenues for that.
That's great. Yeah, thanks for the clarification there. Okay, well, I think that's my main comment. I'll just see here. Oh yes, just to confirm I know there was some talk about the pavers, and I know there's kind of some different strategies there, but I just wanted to confirm that they are designed to be permeable surfaces.
Correct.
Is that the intention with those?
Correct.
No. Okay. I would suggest, I mean, I know for certain areas, permeable pavers, can create some challenges for accessibility. So I think I'd be kind of cautious as to where that's used. But if there's an opportunity to maybe in the courtyard and maybe some other spaces to have those be designed as permeable surfaces, I think that would really benefit this area, just being that it's such a large development for an area that was previously had smaller buildings on it. And then on the Seafield building, I believe it's Keystone there, the short-term bike parking, if there's an opportunity to add a shelter over that, I think that would be another recommendation there. And just with it being a nice flat roof, if there's an opportunity to at least rough in for solar, but ideally, consider a solar installation on this building, that would be my last recommendation. But otherwise, I really like the look and feel of the buildings, and I think, yeah, certainly a good fit for this area. So thanks for everything there.
Thank you, Angie. Did you say to add the bike parking shelter at the Keystone or the Parkview one?
I think it's the Keystone building where
Keystone,
it's not currently covered. And I may be missing something too. Maybe it's under a cover that's just not clear on the plan that I'm looking at. But if not, then adding that would be a benefit there.
Okay, great. Thank you, Angie. Thank you, Angie. Okay, so that leaves me. So I just wanted to say that I just think it's really smart the way green spaces were prioritized throughout this whole addition, essentially expansion to the campus. It is very clear when you're in that area that it is actively a medical space. Down Seaview, there's multiple medical centers, so it's really nice to tie into that and start building up and start referencing some of the architecture of the hospital, which is, if you're building in bigger infrastructure, right, in Nanaimo, that's wonderful for healthcare. I really liked the south-facing roof text. That's great. I like the textured entrance at the drive aisle. I think it's very clear that there's something happening, and if somebody's driving over it, it'll slow them down. There's people there. Sorry, it's getting over a cold. Couple of suggestions that I have. One is with regards to the massing. The building is fairly tall, and the upper floors are split up vertically, but the upper floors feel considerably heavier than the ground floor. So my recommendation would be to consider either reducing the size of those tall boxes a little bit, just to make it a little bit friendlier, just to reduce that weight above the ground floor, so that it's just a little bit more open and airy. So if maybe the same treatment that was done on level 1 is extended to level 2, and so that they're reduced a little bit, or if the vertical boxes are brought down a level and a different treatment is used up on the upper floor, just to kind of reduce that mass as people are coming in from a massing architectural perspective. And then, and that's not as much an issue with, I think, Keystone, because Keystone is the one that's kind of, you only see the narrow side of it, but with Parkview in particular, I think it would benefit from just looking at that massing one more time. It's not changing, for example, the spacing, but just those vertical items, to maybe compress them a little bit and open up the ground floor. And then the other recommendation that I have is just to highlight those main entrances a little bit better, particularly on the south sides or page, drawing page, south side of the building, so that it's clear where you enter. It's clear where the ambulances enter into the Keystone building, but it's not necessarily clear right out the gate where pedestrians would enter from that side if they were coming in. So it just as a thought to highlight those main entrances. So those are 10 recommendations total. And I'll look to the panel members now and see if anybody else has any comments or questions or anything I missed. Okay, Angie?
Sorry, Chair, I got the building names mixed up, so we might have to revise some of the comments, but the short-term parking is by Parkview. The short-term bike parking doesn't appear to be covered, I think is by Parkview, so.
It's Parkview, okay. Thank you very much, Angie.
And sorry, I might add one more comment, just that with regards to parking, if there's an opportunity maybe to add some wayfinding to the Colville Center parking, that might be helpful as an alternative to kind of, if there's excess parking over there. But yeah, I agree with Ken that the parking is very tight on this street. Every time I've been here, it's really challenging. And so if there's an opportunity just to, again, I didn't know about that either. So it'd be great to maybe have some wayfinding to share that parking amenity.
Thank you very much, Angie. That's great. Okay, so in total, I am seeing 11 recommendations. There were also in total 8 variances. Variances for parking and for the loading and for the setbacks. We have considerations and recommendations that we're going to be putting forth. With these in mind, if these are set as recommendations, are we okay with the variances as presented as the panel? Yeah? Ken, do you have any comments? You have your hand up. Yeah.
Yes, I did. Thank you. Yes, I'm particularly, my concern is about the parking variance. And when I noted that it's about 20% of the bylaw requirements. And so my suggestion is to consider no more than a maximum, we'll say, a 10% reduction in the bylaw requirements to add at least a few more parking spaces to this development.
Okay, thank you. We will add that to the recommendations. But with those recommendations in mind, are we okay to move forward with the variances as presented and then to include the alterations to the variances in the recommendations? Is that fair if we do it that way? Okay.
Sure, with me. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so in that case, we have 11 recommendations. I will list them now, and if I could please get the panel's help if I mess anything up, because these 2 buildings, we've all consistently been kind of flipping them around, so, and myself as well. So consider altering the roof line to peaked roofs to reflect the residential flavor, adjacent flavor. Ken, I just want to say that from my perspective, I think it matches the hospital. So I will leave this recommendation in, but just to note that I think it's okay. I think it matches the hospital to have the flat roof. So it's kind of working with a different vibe. Oh, Donna.
Sorry, I didn't make a comment at the time, but one of the comments I would make is that part of the reason the roofs are flat on our various buildings is because the amount of equipment that has to go up there. So I mentioned it intentionally when I referenced Keystone. It will be like a hospital on the top floor. It will be a fully operational surgical facility, which has, and that's why the surgical center is going on the top floor, because of the amount of equipment that has to go there. And that's over and above HVAC equipment and elevator equipment that has to go
understood.
through. So I
Yep,
just thought maybe that adds some.
Yep, thank you, Donna.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Ken.
Madam
please.
Chair, if I could.
Yes?
My particular concern was the view along Seacrest. I realize and I accept that the other building, which is right across from the hospital, it fits in very well with its flat roof and so on. And then this concern about the need for the equipment. I accept that wholeheartedly. My recommendation was with respect to the view along the Seafield Crescent. That if that could be managed in some way.
Okay, so let's, so for our recommendation, we can say, consider altering the roof line along Seafield Crescent, or maybe not even the roof line, maybe just to somehow in some way mimic the roof lines of the adjacent properties.
work.
Would that be reasonable?
That
Yeah?
would work, yeah.
Okay, so maybe it's a way they treat the canopies, maybe the entrance canopy can be a peaked roof and raised, something like that? So just so that it relates back to the residential side of that
Correct.
Seafield Street.
That's the idea, yes.
Okay, so I'm not sure if that was clear for the stenographers. Okay, thank you. Okay, recommendation number 2, consider adding a passenger loading zone in the front of the building. Okay, number 3, consider increasing the parking, particularly in the Parkview building, from a 20% reduction to a 10% reduction. Alternatively, or similarly, consider the opportunity to do wayfinding to Colville parking. Does that seem fair, Ken? You provide,
I think so. As an additional item, yes, I would agree with that.
as an additional item. Okay, so I will keep it the way it is. So number 3 is consider reducing 20% to 10% reduction. And then as number 4, consider finding opportunities for wayfinding for the Colville parking. Okay, number 5, provide hand and backrests for accessibility for the benches. Number 6, consider increasing the soil volume for particularly around the trees and making the planters larger. Number 7, consider fritted glazing, bird-friendly fritted glazing. And that kind of adds to what I was talking about with the massing, about making the building look a little bit more friendly. Maybe the fritted glass could have some kind of an art pattern component that can be then used to make it less stressful to come here. That would be wonderful if it could serve 2 uses. Number 8, use strategically placed pavers, keeping in mind accessibility as well as permeability. Okay. Number 9, add bike parking shelter at Parkview.
To go back to number 8, did you say consider strategically placed pavers?
Strategically placed pavers, yes, because Kate, you had mentioned that we should add more permeable pavers, which I think the whole panel is in agreement with. Angie's concern, and I think is also valid, is that we have to put them in, but in consideration also of accessibility, right? So as long as it's not impeding the accessible access.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I didn't have a comment about. I was confused. I didn't have a comment about permeable pavers for this development. Yeah, I didn't recommend permeable for this development. Sorry.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
No, just pavers. But I misunderstood.
Just pavers,
The plan,
okay.
The plan was reading as concrete and not pavers, and so since that switch happened, thanks to Nigel clarifying, that was just my question there.
Okay, thank you, Kate. Yeah. So we can leave that comment as is, yeah? Okay. Number 9, bike parking shelter at Parkview, okay. And then number 10, consider a solar installation or a rough-in for solar. Number 11, find ways to highlight the main entrances for these buildings, for pedestrians, right? Not for, because ambulances will know where to go, but for people who are coming in by foot or getting dropped off. And finally, number 12, if there's a way to consider finding ways to reduce the upper floor massing to kind of brighten up and make more friendly the ground floor. That would be great. Okay, so these are 12 recommendations. And can I get a motion to accept the project as presented with the 8 variances and the 12 recommendations as presented? And can I get yeah, Ken, thank you very much. And can I get a seconder? Angie, and all in favor? Okay, and thank you very much, Donna, for everything and for putting all this together, Igor and Nigel. It's a wonderful project and we're very excited to see it come to fruition. Thank you very much. And can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting? Angie, seconder Jessica, everybody all in favor. Have a great night and Happy New Year.